All right, guys. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good night, or whenever you're watching this. I don't know. Um, Mr. Carnley, welcome back. I know you had that for my classmates at least. I know you at least had that nice vacation, Mr. Basinger, but unfortunately, you're stuck with me again. I know, right? You're finally like, oh, got rid of that guy. Finally, I'm back. And then you're going to hear from me now. All right. So where we left off, right? Oh, with the Middle Eastern empires, right? So we're gonna move from the Middle East, move westward. We'll start talking about these West African kingdoms now, specifically Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. So as soon as I can put this in slideshow run, I'm going to figure that part out. Oh, move out of the way, me. There we go. All right, now I can move back. All right. So let's start with this first one right here, Ghana. Now, as you can see right there in the green, right here, you're in Ghana right here. Now you can't see on the map is that there's like a river that kind of like runs through the middle of Ghana right there. Not exactly right, but you get the idea. Known as the Niger River, and that's what the civilization of Ghana is going to build around. We talked about, is that like a theme? This entire class, like civilizations building around the rivers? Surely not, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. But like I said, right, it's not coincidental, right? We've brainstormed this many times, right? Rivers provide fresh water. Rivers provide fertile soil to grow crops. Rivers provide transportation. Combine those three things, you get the perfect environment for building a large scale civilizations. Ghana is going to be founded by a group of foreigners known as the Soniki. I think I'm going to go with that. I apologize. Like I've told you guys many times before, I am what you would refer to as a redneck from Bedford. All right? Can't pronounce things too good. But this group of farmers, they're going to band together in order to protect themselves. Because right now, they're getting attacked over here from the west by nomads. So they're going to band together, try to protect themselves. And eventually, that bursts into a civilization after so many years. And they're going to form the civilization known as Ghana. Now, one cool thing that Ghana has that the neighboring countries do not have, they know how to make and work iron. What's so special about iron? Well, that's going to make a lot of your weapons a lot stronger in terms of protecting your civilization. So while your neighbors are attacking you with like bronze or stone or other weaker metals, you have iron swords, iron shields, iron spears, iron bows and arrows. Your military is going to be extremely strong. So the Ghana military was far and away much stronger than the military of a lot of its neighbors at this point and now. And as a result, they're going to be able to grow, conquer, and become a very formidable force in Africa, militarily wise. Let's go to the other side of the spectrum. And how do I get rid of that? That just like came along with me. Erase that. Oh, there we go. Sweet. All right. Ghana has a lot of access to salt mines and a lot of access to gold. Gold's a bit of an obvious one, right? I tell you, why is gold important? You might tell me it's shiny. It's pretty. It's beautiful. Right? Everybody wants to get their hands on gold. Every civilization, no matter which civilization you are, you see gold, you want gold. But what about salt? What makes salt so special? It's like in that glass container on my kitchen table that I like put on my green beans sometimes, right? What's so special about salt? Here's the thing about salt way back then, in the time period we're talking about. Salt's extremely precious because it does help preserve food and make food taste better. Let's break down preserved food. This is a time way before refrigeration, I know. Blows your mind that refrigerators have not been here since the dawn of time. without refrigerators. And if you're in a very hot environment like Africa, your food's going to spoil very easily. You kill an animal for meat, that meat's going to spoil very quickly. How do you prevent that from happening? You salt it. Now, I kill an animal, I get its meat, no salt, it spoils within, I'm not sure, very quickly. I kill an animal, get its meat, and I salt it, put a lot of salt on it, I'm going to be able to keep that meat around for much longer. Well, the more you preserve food, the more food you can have, therefore the more people you can support. So salt becomes an extremely precious mineral, especially in this area in the world. The more salt you have, the more food you can preserve. The more food you can preserve, the more people you can support. And I guess it makes it taste better too. I guess that's a plus as well. All right. So the growth of trade. Now, Ghana's going to be able to take control of a lot of trade routes. If we go back to this map right here, right? It's kind of in the middle of Western Africa right here. So you got trade coming from the south, from the west, from the east, right? They're kind of in the middle of this African trade network. As a result of taking over these trade routes, well, we'll start with this. What are they trading? They're trading a lot of gold. You're going to get really wealthy off that. You're trading a lot of salt. You have something very important that other people don't have. If other people want your stuff, they're going to pay for your stuff. As a result, Ghana is going to become extremely wealthy because of this. We're going to build the city of Kumbi Saleh. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. I really do. But this city was an oasis for travelers. What I mean by that, when I say that, is this is an extremely wealthy city. If you're a traveler, you can come through this city and trade and make a lot of money. And it becomes this really great, really powerful, really wealthy city in Ghana. Much like New York City is to Americans, right? New York City is this very wealthy city. Produces a lot of wealth. Kumbi Saleh is kind of the same way with Ghana here. It becomes one of the great African cities. Becomes one of the great world cities during this time as well. Another way they're going to stimulate trade, right? Ghana's going to protect their trade routes. We've talked about this a lot. Let's go back to China, for example, right? With the Yuan dynasty. Yuan dynasty would place soldiers around their trade routes. What does that do? That makes your trade routes safer. If your trade routes are safer, are you more likely or less likely to use them? You're more likely, right? So as a result, if you're using those trade routes more and more, you're producing a lot more wealth. Lastly, how are they going to produce wealth? They're going to start taxing conquered kingdoms, otherwise known as a tribute. We talked about tribute before. Basically, what would happen is Ghana would conquer tiny kingdoms around Ghana and be like, hello, I am Ghana. I am a new ruler. Give me money. More or less what a tribute is. So they're going to tax their conquered kingdoms, and they're also going to tax travelers in order to get more wealth. So if you're a traveler in Ghana, you could be stopped, and people can ask for some of your money. And as a result, with all this combined, because Ghana has access to salt and gold, because of all these trade routes, because of the safe trade routes, because of these tax policies, Ghana becomes extremely wealthy. Got a picture right here, obviously, right? Ghana, extremely well known for their American dollars with American founding father Benjamin Franklin on it, and their Rolexes, right? Obviously, that's what I always associate Ghana with is Benjamin Franklin. A theme with all these empires, right, that we've talked about all year, right? They get big, they get strong, they get powerful, they get rich, and they're eventually going to fall. Ghana's not an exception. There's really three things that's going to lead to the decline of Ghana. Let's start with each of these bold PowerPoints. Number one, you had a Muslim group known as the Almoravids. I think I got that one right, actually. The Almoravids is a group of Muslims who are not a part of Ghana. They're just their own thing, right? They're going to invade Ghana, trying to spread Islam, convert Islam, right? We've talked about how Islam spreads all across northern Africa. Well, now that spread is going to come a little southward and a little southwestward, where Ghana's at. The Almoravids are going to destroy Kumisili. And even though they don't actually take over Ghana, they eventually kind of lose. They do a huge number on weakening Ghana as an empire. Imagine like this. Imagine a scenario where those barbaric, savage, disgusting Canadians wandered into the United States, attacked it, destroyed New York City, and we eventually won the war, but they destroyed New York City. What's that going to do? That's going to wreck the economy. And if it's a long, drawn-out war, a very powerful war, it's going to weaken the military greatly. And that's pretty much what happens when the Almoravids attack Ghana. Number two, the Almoravids actually bring a ton of cattle with them. And these cattle, they got to eat, apparently. Who knew? Who knew that if you have cows, you got to feed them? I know, this is news to me. Anyway, the cattle basically come in, eat all the grass in a lot of these pastures. This is a process called overgrazing. And what this does is the cows come in, they eat all of the grass to the point where new grass cannot grow, and it leaves the soil exposed to desert winds. So now that soil becomes infertile, and sometimes it becomes part of a desert. Well, if you don't have fertile soil, you also have less food. So that's another problem, right? God's not going to be able to feed his population as well as it used to. Number three, a bunch of conquered kingdoms rose up in rebellion. As we talked about before, right? It turns out people don't really like being ruled by other people. I know, weird, right? Like the Ming Dynasty, right? They don't like being ruled by the Yuan, the Mongols. And eventually they're going to take back over. Same deal here. A lot of these conquered kingdoms rise up against Ghana. Combine all three of these, the Almoravids, the overgrazing, the conquered kingdoms rising up, Ghana's eventually going to fall. But that's not where our story ends. Tomorrow, on this next episode of Western African Kingdoms, we'll talk about the rise of Mali. So, if you have any questions, guys, please do feel free to reach out to me. I'll try my best to answer your questions. If you're a Mr. Basinger student, I feel like you might do the same thing. But otherwise, I will see all of you guys later. And thank you for stopping by.